Today, we're going to talk about something really important, a quiet anxiety that so many people feel on family vacations, that fear of being a burden. We're going to look at how to take that feeling and completely transform it into a source of real strength. Let's dive in.
This feeling, this exact moment, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's heavy, it's isolating. While everyone else is buzzing about what's next, you're doing this silent, painful math in your head. And it can just cast a shadow over the whole joy of being with your family. But what if I told you this feeling isn't some personal failure? It's actually a predictable, well-documented psychological thing. And just understanding it, that's the very first step to getting your power back. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dig into the hidden identity crisis that's really behind this feeling. Then, we're gonna name the forces that create all that guilt. After that, we'll totally reframe your role, give you a practical protocol to protect your dignity, and we'll wrap up with a fresh perspective and a simple challenge to put it all into action. Okay, let's get right to the heart of this. That feeling of being an inconvenience, of slowing everyone down. I want you to hear this. It has almost nothing to do with your physical capabilities. Nope. The real source of this anxiety goes so much deeper. It's a fundamental crisis of identity that your brain is just trying to figure out. Psychologists actually have a name for this: utility debt anxiety. Just think about it for a second. For decades, you were probably the provider, the planner, the driver, the one in charge. Your brain got wired to find its value in that utility. So now, when your role shifts and you're the one being cared for, your brain can freak out a little bit. It can interpret this as a status threat, like a sign that you're now in debt to everyone. And this is a neurological response, It's not a logical one. And you can see that identity shift so clearly here. You've gone from being the family architect, the one designing the whole experience, to being the family passenger, from logistics chief to, well, the recipient. That is a massive rewiring of your role, and your brain is simply struggling to adjust to this new way of being totally essential. Okay, so we've established this is an identity thing. But that nagging feeling of guilt, it's also being fueled by some very specific dynamics that happen during travel. So in this next part, we're gonna put a name to the forces that can make you feel like a liability, even when you are so loved. This can be explained by what's called the Reciprocity-Imbalance Model. Our brains are just hardwired to feel a sense of worth when we contribute. So when our kids, with the absolute best intentions, start to overhelp, it can trigger something called the care-receivers paradox. It's a weird catch-22. The more they help, the more our brain gets the signal that we're no longer useful, which paradoxically makes us feel smaller. And that specific feeling, it has a name too: Kinetic Guilt. It's that knot in your stomach when you're in a busy airport or a crowded foreign street. These chaotic places create what's called visual dominance overload. Just too many signs, sounds, and people to process all at once. Taking an extra moment to get your bearings is completely normal, but in a fast-moving group, it can really feel like you're holding everyone back. And this right here, this is the final piece of the puzzle. There's something called Socioemotional Selectivity theory, and it shows that as we get older, our priorities just naturally shift. Younger generations are often focused on activity maximization, collecting experiences, checking things off a list. Your focus, on the other hand, has probably shifted to emotional depth, really savoring the moments. So the big takeaway is this: it's not a mismatch in speed, it's a mismatch in purpose. All right, now that we understand the deep reasons for this anxiety, we've reached the turning point. This next section is all about a powerful shift in perspective. It's about moving away from measuring your value in speed and instead rediscovering the incredible power of your presence. Okay, the single most important idea to grab onto is this transition from what we call kinetic equality to presence-based authority. You have to stop playing a game where your worth is measured by your miles per hour. It's a game you can't win. Instead, your value comes from a completely different source: your role as the generative anchor of the family. Let's just let that sink in for a moment. You are the generative anchor. Now think about what an anchor actually does. It doesn't speed the ship along, does it? No. It gives the ship a stable, meaningful place to be. It provides the central point around which everything else can safely revolve. That is your new and most vital role. So let's start reframing the language we use, both in our own heads and out loud. You are not slowing them down. You are providing the pacing. Your pace is a gift.
It's what forces a rushed, activity-obsessed group to pause, to breathe, and to actually be where they are. You are the one who brings depth to what might otherwise be just a shallow, fast-moving blur. And this is the fundamental truth. Please remember this. Your family did not invite you on this trip for your hiking ability or your speed. They invited you for your witness, for the history you hold, the stories you tell, the love you embody, and for the simple, profound fact of your presence. That is your value. It's immeasurable, and it has absolutely nothing to do with pace. Now, understanding this new perspective is absolutely crucial, but we also need some practical tools, right? So this next section introduces something called the Sovereign Traveler Protocol. I want you to think of these as your own identity defense systems, designed to protect your dignity and your joy. So the protocol has 4 core parts that all work together. We've got the split velocity clause, the value anchor reframe, the honest resource disclosure, and stationary task assumption. These are concrete, proactive things you can do to manage expectations and stop guilt before it even has a chance to start. First up is the split velocity clause, and this is something you do before you even leave home. You just announce to the family, hey, I am so excited for this trip. Just so you know, while you all go on that 5-hour hike, I'm gonna find a beautiful cafe and have a solo window to read my book. See? This preemptively authorizes separation. It's not an apology, it's a plan. And it just eliminates any chance of feeling like you're holding them back from their high-intensity fun. Next, we have the value anchor reframe. This is all about changing your language in the moment. When you need a break, the impulse is to apologize, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, I need to stop. Instead, you're going to reframe it as a high-status choice. With calm authority, you say, wow, this view is incredible. I'm going to savor this for a few minutes. I'll meet you down at the fountain. You've just transformed a delay into a strategic choice, which reinforces your role as someone who is truly experiencing the place. The third tool is the honest resource disclosure. This just means being upfront about your energy. Saying something like, I've got about 3 good walking hours in me today, is not an admission of weakness. It is providing crucial data for successful group planning. You're the expert on your own resources, and sharing that expertise makes the trip better for everybody. And a great little addition to this is to assume a stationary task. Maybe you're in charge of making dinner reservations or organizing the day's photos. This reinforces your value to the group in a way that has nothing to do with mobility. Okay, so now that you have the tools, let's zoom out for some final encouragement. What you might perceive as a limitation is, in fact, your superpower. It is a profound gift of perspective that you bring to the table. You are a master of depth. You teach the younger generations how to be in a moment, not just conquer it on their way to the next thing. You know, research consistently shows that for adult children, the memories they cherish the most aren't the big, grand activities. They're the quiet, in-between moments of connection with their parents. Your presence is the emotional home base for the entire trip. And you, more than anyone, know this truth. Missing one activity never, ever means missing the life of the trip. The life is being together. So, to bring this all home, I want to leave you with a simple, gentle, but really powerful challenge. This is all about taking these ideas off the screen and putting them into practice right away, in a small but very meaningful way. I call this the no apology pause. Sometime in the next day, during any shared activity, it could even be just a walk to the car, I want you to intentionally stop. Find something beautiful or interesting, and just pause to look at it. And here's the absolute key. Do it without apology, without explanation. Just stop, observe, and let the world wait for you for a moment. In that small act of claiming your pace, you are claiming your power. Remember, your family invited you for your wisdom and your presence, not for your walking speed. You are the destination, not the obstacle. So start using those tools, like the split velocity clause, to set the stage for a guilt-free trip. Being the anchor isn't a lesser role, it's the trip's highest honor. So audit the guilt, anchor the presence, and lead your life with the sovereignty you have absolutely earned.